and the United National Congress. Today in COUVA, the worst roads are in Bokaro. The southern main road from Chaguanas to Savonetta Junction is potholes left, right, and center. And UTT to Savonetta Junction, you know what people doing now to repair potholes? They're looking for bricks, and they're looking for when people renovating their homes and demolishing their homes to find material to fill potholes. And that is the legacy of Rohan Sinanan as your Minister of Works and Transport and Kazem Hussein as your Minister of Local Government. There's no toilet paper in schools. Children don't have it nowhere. The Milton Presbyterian Primary School has been closed since the beginning of the term, and there is no solution to this crisis when the children continue to suffer for their SCA examination, and Garcia and Lovell clueless and hopeless as ministers of education, my brothers and sisters. And tonight I want to tell you that that is the legacy of your PNM government. They have been the most incompetent government in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. And tonight I want to tell you that the most incompetent prime minister in the political history of this country is no less a person than Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. And my brothers and sisters, you know the pain, you know the suffering, you know the trauma that you have been experiencing over the last 3 years in COUVA and in central Trinidad and throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. And tonight I want to turn my attention to the labor movement, because the betrayal, the battering, and the unrelenting attack on the workers of this country has not stopped since September of 2015. And in fact, I want to tell you here tonight that the worst period ever experienced by workers of this country since 1934 is under the government of Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, my brothers and sisters. Because they told the labor movement that they had all the solutions. They signed a memorandum of understanding My brothers and sisters of the UNC, could we give a rousing welcome to the most people-centered Prime Minister in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, our leader, the Honorable Kamla Persad Bissessar. And my brothers and sisters, they want to tell you that the PNM and Dr. Keith Rowley is the most strong leader and the most competent leader for Trinidad and Tobago. They want to tell you that the PNM has given you good governance, transparency, and accountability. Tonight, I want to tell you that the weakest leader, Prime Minister, the most incompetent, the most corrupt, and the person that you cannot trust and his government has no credibility to lead this country is Dr. Keith Rowley and the PNM, my brothers and sisters. They told you, as I said, they had all the solutions for the labor movement. The legacy of the PNM, and you must judge them. Their agenda is to lick up and eliminate the trade union movement, the working class and the middle class of this country. They have set up a war with the salaried class of this country, my brothers and sisters, and as I told you, their agenda is to destroy the trade union movement, because when they finish with the trade union movement, there will be no collective bargaining. There must be no IRA and there must be no labor laws. And within recent times, I don't know who the hell voted for Wilfred Espinay, the chairman of the PNM, but the chairman of Petrotrin, sorry, but Wilfred Espinay, who nobody voted for, will come and tell the workers of Petrotrin and tell this country that trade unions have outgrown their worth and their relevance to this country, and there's no role for the industrial court of Trinidad and Tobago. When you want to get rid of institutions, when you want to undermine the rule of law and the constitution of the country, my brothers and sisters, we are setting the seeds for a dangerous dictatorship in this country, because when they get rid of the labor laws of this country, when they get rid of the industrial court of this country, it is then they will turn their guns on the civil liberties and rights and freedoms of the ordinary people of Trinidad and Tobago, my brothers and sisters. Before 1934, there was no trade union. There was no collective bargaining. There was no right to strike. And for me, that is the agenda of Keith Rowley in terms of undermining the established labor laws of this country and the rule of law, my brothers and sisters. So tonight, I want to ask again, where's the accountability? Where's the transparency and open government as it relates to the formation of two new state entities to take over the role of Petrotrin? The Heritage Petroleum Company Limited and Paria Fuel Trading Company, my brothers and sisters. And tonight I want to ask the Prime Minister, when were these companies formed? How many of the fired and dismissed employees will be re-employed into these new companies? What is the criteria for re-employment into these two new entities, my brothers and sisters? Where are the advertisements? Where are the promises when they told the workers of Petrotrin, the 9,000 plus workers, that when you go home, you will be re-employed into the new business units which have been created? And I ask the question, Why has Holic HRC associates being allowed to hijack the recruitment of staff at these two new entities, my brothers and sisters? These are the questions that must be answered by Keith Rowley, because he is in charge of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. We must send a very clear message that Wilfred Espine cannot be allowed to emerge as a spokesman for the People's National Movement, my brothers and sisters. And as I end here tonight, I want to warn the workers of WASA and TSTT and BIR and Customs and Excise, the regional corporations under the Ministry of Local Government, the National Training Agency of Trinidad and Tobago, that your time is coming. If you are not prepared to stand with Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the United National Congress, your party, which has stood on the side of people and social justice in Trinidad and Tobago. Long live our political leader, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, and long live our struggle, which was rooted in that glorious rally at Arangwa Savannah, which took place on the 16th of October, 30 years ago, which has given you the best performing Prime Minister in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, MP for COUVA South, Rudy Indar Singh, a firebrand in his own right. Please give it up for MP Indar Singh. And this is just a reminder that we are live on radio and TV Jagriti, 102.7 FM, 104.7 FM, Synergy YouTube channel, and of course our UNC Facebook and across UNC social media platforms. Ladies and gentlemen, the environment tonight feels like a general election is near. The writing is on the walls for this Rowley PNM government. And yet, this Prime Minister has the unmitigated gall and temerity to speak about transparency. You could bear the whole PNM in Windex and they will never be transparent. Ever since 2015, it has been scandal after scandal after scandal. And our next speaker, when he stood up in the Parliament last week, after he broke that scandal, the entire budget debate collapsed like the government. But before I bring him on, ladies and gentlemen, we have another firebrand in the UNC. They call him the Peppermouth MP. He is another young and vibrant individual in the United National Congress under the leadership of Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for MP for Princestown, Barry Padarat.
COUVA! COUVA North, are you in the house? COUVA South, are you in the house? Our political leader, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, the best Prime Minister this country has ever seen. And you know something? With your help, the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. My parliamentary colleagues, both from the House of Representatives and the Senate, the national executive members of our party, chairmen, councillors, you, the soldiers of this great party, who have stood with us during the good times and the bad times. You know, it is often said that it's those who stay with you, that who stay the course, that fight with you in the trenches. It is those whose shoulders that we stand on. And tonight, we return right here home in the battleground constituencies that have continued to give us that love, strength, and courage to do what we do every single day. On Monday, 1st October, Colm Imber delivered the PNM's 4th budget. 3 years and a little change. But in 4 budgets, they have spent $170 billion with nothing to show for it. You see, between 2010 and 2015, if you took a whole drive from Grand Bazaar to the end of the highway, you could have seen the development. You could have smelled the development. You could have touched the development. You could have seen the roads, the highways, the hospitals, the police stations, not 1, not 2, not 3. But you see, they get angry when Kamla Persad-Bissessar could stand and say, I and the partnership built 10 police stations. They want to know where the money gone. Tell them, in 5 short years, we built 100 schools. The Alsing has a problem with our leader. He says she refers to him as a monster of health. But our leader didn't lie. That is not lie. You see, when babies cannot get surgery in these hospitals, in this country, when right across the road, people cannot get medication through CDAP, when you go to the hospitals and people have to lie down on the floors, I want you to remember that this is what Keith Rowley and his administration have brought back to you, the people of this country. 4 budgets later, you have to ask yourselves, have you fared better under Colm Imber and Keith Rowley? You know, it have a lady called I.A.N. MacDonald. Stands up in the parliament. I will not tell you about that other program. Dr. Munilal might share a little bit of that program with you. But I.A.N. MacDonald has the goal. You know, I always say, I.A.N., you can't stand up in Kamla's shoes one day, but unless you fit in Kamla's dress one day. But I.A.N. MacDonald stands up in the parliament and she says, Kamla spent 15 million and take Hototo to go India. This is an administration that is obsessed with roti, Calcutta ship, and India. You see, they have a problem because our Prime Minister, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, does not represent some of the people. She represents all of the people. You see, they have a problem when our leader can get up after 5 years and tell you where the money gone. Today, they cannot tell you. They have refused to account to you, the people, which we will hear more a little bit later. But I want you to ask yourselves, brothers and sisters, whether or not you are contented to sit down and allow the same old, same old, same old, the same khaki pants. Do not forget, you know, they may put on different clothes, change their name, go to the little weight loss program, but it's the same I.A.N. MacDonald who today want to talk about community center. You know, I stand in that parliament yesterday with our leader, on Friday, asking about community center. And I say to myself, these are the same people of Calabar Foundation fame who cannot tell us where the money gone, where's the community center, but want to lecture to us today. You see, these are the same people. Camille Robinson-Regis, she's the SC. She is the SC in the government of the PNM, not senior counsel, you know. Shameless Camille. Want to tell our leader, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, you must account. You know, I had to remind Camille on Friday, while Kamla Prasad Bisesa could tell you the projects in the PNM constituencies and the UNC constituencies, she could also tell you she never take no government credit card to buy no fertility treatment. She could tell you she never take no government contract to buy no wig and no weave. What Kamla Prasad Bisesa could tell you is that she took the money and she built infrastructure that today they have allowed to rot and they have allowed to abandon. Dr. Munilal has told you that they build castles before they build schools. I want you to know, and they say the devil is in the details. You see, it have PNM MPs and ministers. Today, this evening, it have a man called Moses. I will be kind on the platform. But by far, if that is a representation of that government, then well, Papa, crapo smoke our pipe. These are the people who hold ministerial positions in the government today. These are the people who you depend on for schools, for your children. In my own constituency, Princeton Presbyterian number 1, for 3 years, we cannot get a school. The children go to school at Press 2. They go to school from 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Could you imagine babies, 5-year-olds, going to school at 12 o'clock and coming home at 4 o'clock? Out of spite, malice, the Parvati Girls and Shiva Boys College, 80% completed, but in the constituency of Siparia Penal. You hear the name? Parvati Girls and Shiva Boys, 80% completed, but they will not, after 3 years, find the money to complete those schools. But you will find $95 million for one school in Tobago. In Rodney Charles' constituency, Rodney will tell you 95% of Reform Hindu is completed, but they will not open that school. Dr. Munilal will tell you Ramai Trace Hindu School, 99% completed. But again, out of spite and malice, that has been the DNA of the PNM. I want you, brothers and sisters, to hold the faith and understand. You know, when I spoke in the budget, I said, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, our honorable leader, taught each and every one of us a very important lesson. And many of us speaking in the parliament, many of my colleagues was wondering really where Princeton was going when he started to talk about Children Life Fund at the end of his budget speech. Because I spoke about the collapse in ICTs for young people, no jobs. When they came into office, they said they will establish a graduate training program. It took them 3 years and 4 budgets later, you know to do what? To come up with a definition for the graduate trainee program. Not one job created for young people in this country. But it did not stop there. In every ministry, in every sector, they continue to fail young people. But I will show you that it's not only young people who are doctors and lawyers and engineers, or young professionals like myself and Saddam and the younger ones in the party. We are not the only ones. You see, it's young people from the cradle. And that is where I was going when I spoke in the budget debate. Because it was the vision of Kamla Prasad Bisesa. You know, I remember sitting in the Prime Minister's office one night, 11 o'clock. Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesa comes across a letter from her mother asking for life-saving surgery for her child. Prime Minister handed it to me. She said, please deal with it. I sat down there. 5 minutes later, she looks up. She said, what you still doing here? So I said, Prime Minister, it's 11 o'clock in the night. You know what she said to me? She said, what that have to do with anything? Could you imagine being a parent and knowing that your child is fighting for your life in the hospital? You think you could sleep? I took my phone and I dialed in the number. Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesa spoke to that parent, assuring them, we will do everything to save that child. That child was not from Princestown. That child was not from Debe. That child was not from Pinal. That child was not from Separia. That child was from the Beatum. Kamla Prasad Bisesa, as our leader and as our Prime Minister, was determined that every single child, regardless of where you came from, what your race was, no matter your background, deserved a chance of life. And tonight you may ask yourself why I'm choosing to raise this. I've told you, she has taken care and she has a plan for young people from the cradle all the way up. And I want you to ask yourselves, as I asked the Parliament on Monday when I spoke, do you think people, a Prime Minister, a Minister of Government, can watch a child, a dying child in their face and say, no help for you? They can have no compassion for a dying child who needs surgery, that they will come to fix your road. They will have compassion to give you a food card and you a grant. If they do not have compassion for the most sick and vulnerable, our dying children in our society. Those are the questions you must ask yourself, and you must ask the people of this country. Do you want a continuation of a heartless and cruel? Imagine a Prime Minister who says, I care for you, front page of the papers. But I want you to know, as I told you then, it's not I care for you, you know. Rowley really should be saying, I scared for you. Because if we do not move this wicked and incompetent government with your help, then surely a nation under the PNM will continue to perish, as we have seen. I thank you for the love and support that you continue to give to our party and our leader. But love and support is not enough. Put on your boots, get ready, dust out your shirts, have your whistles and your flags, because Kamla Prasad Bisesa is breaking the back of this PNM. As surely as night follows day, the sun will rise again, and we will return the best Prime Minister to the corridors of power. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the Peppermouth Princestown MP. And you know, he told us a lot about the incompetence of this wicked, unpatriotic government. But what would you expect if you have a cabinet with a monster of health, a minister of national insecurity, a minister of nothing works and no transport, and God knows if we have now a crime minister? Ladies and gentlemen, I gave you a prelude as to our next speaker. But over the past few days, we have been seeing some headlines. TV6 headline, Munilal names Rowley in $1 million scandal. Guardian headline, cousin to PM linked in A.N claim. And ladies and gentlemen, in today's episode of Trinidad is not a real place, Guardian headline, PM's cousin, A.N email sent by accident. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker will bring to you the facts. He will lay down the law, and he will put the PNM where they belong. Please give it up for the indomitable MP for Oropuch East, Dr. Rudal Munilal.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you for the warm introduction. Political leader and opposition leader, Member of Parliament for Siparia, Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bisesa and Dr. Gregory Bisesa, colleagues at the head table on the stage, parliamentary colleagues, members of the local government community, brothers and sisters of the UNC family assembled this evening in this mammoth crowd at the COUVA South constituency office, brothers and sisters listening to our broadcasts in the United States, the United Kingdom, and elsewhere in the world, a special good evening to all of you. And may I acknowledge, but not welcome, the lawyers of the Prime Minister who, at an office in Port of Spain with lead pencil in hand and a piece of paper, listening to every word I say. We acknowledge them as well, but they're not welcome. So, brothers and sisters, all the colleagues have been telling me, when you talk tonight, be careful. Don't say nothing out of the way. I told them, well, then you don't want me to talk. You see, brothers and sisters, it is the work of the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the team that Mrs. Prasad Bisesa leads in the parliament, in the party, in the constituencies, the communities, and the villages. It is that work today that has the PNM on the ropes. It is that work we have done over 3 years plus that today this government and this Prime Minister is clinging on to power by their nails at the edge of a cliff. And Mrs. Prasad Bisesa has the nail clipper. So it is a matter of time before they crumble, before they implode. Our work that we have done in the last few days is only one brick we are putting together for a bigger wall, for a bigger fight. This has been a most remarkable week in our political history. Every day is almost like an adrenaline pumping day. You don't know what is happening, what will be said, what will be written. It is a puzzle that is coming together with information, some of which we may know, some of which we don't know. Brothers and sisters, tonight, I will not speak on the issues that were raised in the Parliament last week. I will not speak to those issues. Those issues are part of the public record, and the record is there. However, I will confine myself to issues that have been in the newspapers, which have been published, and I am entitled tonight to speak to those issues. So you will bear with me as I take you through this saga. Let me begin by the headline of today. And the headline today in one of the papers, newspapers, is Dr. Rowley is calling for an apology, a retraction, and for me to shut up. You think I should do any of that? Now all you're not going to court, huh? But I hear you. I hear the advice. Tonight I want to tell Dr. Rowley that I'm a God-fearing man. I may fear a woman, but I'm a God-fearing man, and I am afraid of no man. I am afraid of no one. The only man I'm scared sometimes is the dentist. And Keith Rowley is not a dentist. He might be a political cavity, but he's not a dentist. So tonight, you will get no apology, you will get no retraction, no withdrawal, brothers and sisters, and you will get more information tonight, Keith Rowley, to put on your court documents. Brothers and sisters, we have reached a point of an ultimate crisis in this country. Other speakers have explained and described the crisis this country faces today. Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, in a wide, comprehensive address to the Parliament only a few days ago in the budget, spoke of that crisis and outlined what is for us a blueprint for development, a plan to take this country forward. We have the plan, we have the leader, we have the policy, we have the personnel. Brothers and sisters, we need a general election now. But in the days that gone by, we have seen certain headlines in the newspapers, brothers and sisters. And tonight I say categorically, from reading the newspapers, I am happy that whatever I may have said in the Parliament, that may have led to 8 elements of truths being exposed in the newspapers, which, like you, I have read. You see, brothers and sisters, in the newspapers, coming out within 48 hours, may I remind you of a train of events. Whenever I was finished talking, the budget debate was in full flight. In fact, I spoke earlier than I would normally speak. And Keith Rowley had an opportunity after me to respond. He could have responded for 55 minutes. He could have responded the next day. He could have responded the day after. He chose to remain quiet. 17 hours later, he had a press conference with his lawyer. And in that press conference, which is in the public domain, he has denied certain allegations. But brothers and sisters, in that press conference, he did not deny at any time, he did not disclose that a key individual in this matter would be someone known to him. He did not disclose that. And we, brothers and sisters, the national community had to wait for a headline in the newspaper. We had to wait for a headline in the newspaper, a particular headline that spoke not to Keith Rowley, not to him at all, but spoke to what was called by the Guardian on the 11th, I believe, is it? The 11th of October, Family Link. We got a headline in the Guardian, Family Link. And it was only then we discovered, brothers and sisters, that a name called in that matter was indeed the cousin of Dr. Keith Rowley. The cousin. Then we waited with bated breath for another headline. So we got them in the newspapers. And the Guardian again carried a headline, I believe on the 12th of October, email error. Now, I don't have time tonight to read everything for you, so I will just tell you what that means. The cousin of Keith Rowley, one Junior Rollinson Rowley, admitted, brothers and sisters, that he's a man, he's a real man. He's a cousin of the Prime Minister, and he received an email by mistake, by accident. So somebody dialed his email accidentally. Brothers and sisters, an email is not a telephone number. You know it is to sit down and spell out somebody's name to send an email? But he has confirmed as a truth, brothers and sisters, one, he is the cousin of Dr. Keith Rowley. And Rowley is saying, I have no transaction with him, forget him. All right. The second truth, that his email address is correct. He has confirmed that. The third truth, that the email address being sent, his address is correct, but the sender is also correct. One Vivian Bash. The fourth truth, that the email was received. It was received, he said, by accident. All right, we can accept that. But in the body of the email, which I, like you, read on the internet, it is alleged that, hello, good morning, Honorable Prime Minister. So this fella, Rowley, he looked like he's the prime minister too. As the fourth truth. Brothers and sisters, we had to wait for a Newsday front page to tell us the fifth truth. Brothers and sisters, that there exists a company in Miami carrying the name that is in an alleged email. That company exists. That's the sixth truth. The principal of that company, the owner, carries a name, Charlie Diaz, something like that. He come forward one time. He said, me, I exist. That's the seventh truth. He said, I am real. I am doing business with this company, AV Drilling, for 17 years. So that is real. He then says that the banking data, which he read in the newspapers, he said the banking data is correct. So now we have the eighth truth. To this day, nothing has been proven to be false, but we have 8 elements of truth. I asked Keith Rowley in his Emailgate matter of May 2013, identify one element of that has been proven to be the truth. He cannot find one element of truth in his Emailgate, but before an investigation is launched in this country or elsewhere, we have 8 elements of truth. And not one matter has been proven to be false. Dr. Rowley has made a big-time denial and so on, and that's fine. He's within his rights to deny and so on. We waited until Saturday for another headline, brothers and sisters. Again, I'm quoting from the newspaper like you, I read it. It says, bogus checks. Now, this is also fascinating because it means that if these checks are bogus, I may have just been helpful to law enforcement, that I have exposed a ring of fraudsters who are in a room somewhere writing up checks and printing checkbooks and tendering illegal counterfeit checks. But they should thank me. I may have saved them millions of dollars by exposing this, because for 1 year, they did not know that somebody peddling counterfeit monetary instruments. It is Rudal Munilal had to say so. So their auditors and their accountants didn't pick up that my forensic brain pick up. So I think they should thank me by paying my legal bill. So now we have moved from fake oil to fake check. And we will investigate that. But brothers and sisters, what we also find interesting with that matter, the checks are published already on the internet, is that if somebody is doing a fraudulent, a fake check, writing something, why they just pull out the stub as well? Now, many of you write checks, I know, in your business and your personal life. When you write a check, there's the left side, it's called the stub. Now, what you do is you write the record there of who you are paying, the date, what for, and it coincides, so when you check in later personally, or your accountant, your auditor, we know what the check was for. Look, even me, when I write in constituency check, I find them thing too hard. I just put the name, the money, and the date. I don't even put it in order and thing, because I know I want to check. So what they saying? The fraudster, the bandit, the crook, the criminal, he take his time to write a fraud check, and he also take his time to fill out the stubs. Just in case somebody was auditing his crooked work. Just in case his work of fraud was being audited by a good accountant. That is very unreasonable. But having said that, they will go and they will investigate that further. But those issues are very much alive. They have not been proven to be false or fake. There are signatures there, like you today, I saw something on the internet. I have it here, where someone put up something on the internet with matching signatures and so on. But those will be done, that type of work, by people who are trained to do that, to tell us if it is fake. You see, brothers and sisters, they have sent me now a pre-action protocol letter. And in the letter, Dr. Rowley says I must apologize and retract and so on. But you know what he also wants? He said that he wants damages from me. And he wants a substantial sum of money. Now I want to tell him, if he wants a substantial sum of money, he should really start talking to his cousin. Because the last time I hear somebody demand a substantial sum of money is on a robbery. You're going and you hold up somebody and say, give me a substantial, give me all the money. So we are not scared of that at all. I have on our legal team Mr. Richard Clayton, Queen's Counsel from England. And I also have brothers and sisters, the former Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago, I.A.N. Ramlogan, Senior Counsel. And I look forward to the day when Mr. Ramlogan can go in the courthouse to cross-examine Dr. Rowley. I think on that day, they're going to have to give out ticket to people to come in there. And I'm sure Mr. Ramlogan will be kind and courteous to Dr. Rowley as he always is. So you see, brothers and sisters, I tell you this because there's a pattern. What our enemy is doing, they are trying to shut us up. Keith Rowley knows this case will take a long time. You might have 3 general elections before this is done. He knows that. But it is a similarity when Mrs. Prasad Bisesa raised that issue of AV drilling, I believe on this stage. AV drilling took a lawyer and sued her in defamation to say, shut up. It is the same approach. They want to keep you quiet quick, so they want to rush to the court. I am eagerly awaiting that matter involving Mrs. Prasad Bisesa and AV drilling in the courthouse, that defamation matter. I eagerly await that. I wish the trial could start soon so that we can resolve that as well. But what our enemy is doing is they are trying to shut us up. And an older woman here in our party, a very dynamic young lady, working for the UNC, working for the people, free of charge. I think they are intend to take legal action against her as well. Now, when a prime minister decides to sue a county councillor, you know, all fall down, huh? All fall down. We are politicians. We take our battle on the political platform. We don't go in the courthouse. You must stand up on the political platform and fight. But the objective is not to fight. The objective is to shut you up. So tonight I ask, would you be intimidated by Keith Rowley? Do you fear Rowley? Brothers and sisters, tonight we must tell our people, because they are threatening the whole Facebook community. Imagine they want to sue everybody who using Facebook because they want to harass and instill fear in you. And you must never ever feel any fear. Tonight, before I leave you, I want to remind you that there are key principles in this matter. Rohit Prasad, you heard that name. Is that the same man who was arrested by the fraud squad for allegedly peddling US dollar checks purportedly from the central bank to the tune of 3 million United States dollars? Is that the same Rohit Prasad? I took note in the newspaper that one contractor said he doesn't know this man Rohit Prasad. I asked him tonight, is it the same Rohit Prasad who was employed by you in Penal that today you disown? So one man say, it's my cousin, but I don't talk to he, I know business with he. The next one said, that fella, I don't know he. I never do nothing with he. I asked if indeed that person was in the employ. I asked a question whether he was ever in the employ of Jokan Construction Company. That is what I asked. We have a next man missing in action here, Vidya Devki Singh. Where is he? Where is Rohit Prasad? You cannot find these people. They have taken off, brothers and sisters. They're gone. You can't find them. They're being disowned and being thrown out. We don't know if they're in Trinidad, if they're in Tobago, if they're in Margarita, if they're in Miami. We don't know. They disappear. So a puzzle is coming together, but who will the police talk to if you can't find them? Who will we talk to? And brothers and sisters, these are some of the real questions that we ask tonight. Because in due course, I have already indicated that those checks from the central bank are available. They may be available. You can see another set of checks, brothers and sisters. You may be well able to see other documents that put this entire puzzle together. I noticed in the newspaper, which I've read, that Dr. Rowley is saying, I have no bank account, I have no this, I have no that. That was never the issue. I read the newspaper very clearly. I saw the documents on the internet like you. The issue was never bank account. The issue was really a wire transfer matter. You don't need no bank account. So brothers and sisters, in the coming days, this story will unfold, a puzzle will start coming together. And in that puzzle, you will see how all of this fit. But tonight, may I leave you and remind you that the government, both governments, the partnership government and the PNM, when people, it is alleged that they act in a corrupt way and they illegally take money from a state enterprise, the state enterprise will sue you. Would you believe they take EMBDC and they sue contractors? They even sue me. I'm a defendant in one of that matter with a state company. In the criminal law, if you are found guilty, well, you could face a jail, you could get fines and so on, but it's real jail for big crime. But in civil proceedings, if you are liable, then you pay back the money because you have found that you are liable for taking money illegally or by fraud or whatever. When Petrotrin is closed down in this country, think of that. Which company will ever sue AV Drilling or any other entity in the event that they are proven to have taken money illegally? There will be no company to sue them. So the closure of Petrotrin means that the taxpayers of this country will never, ever, ever retrieve a cent, brothers and sisters, in a civil suit from Petrotrin, where they may have, when they could be proven to be liable, I don't know. That is an important implication. Is it that Petrotrin is being closed so that they will close, brothers and sisters, all the doors shut tight, lock up the window, all the people disappear, all the files disappear, even the company that was robbed disappear? Who will you ever sue? And that is why tonight we call for general elections now, so that we can replace this corrupt, wicked, malicious government with a government of the United National Congress led by the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa. Brothers and sisters, thank you all for your attention. Good night and God bless you all.
Licks like peas. Ladies and gentlemen, I just received a text message. Somebody sent me a message and they said, right now, in a small room in Balizé House, a couple of the PNM bigwigs are dizzy trying to spin this story. Next, we have the moment that you have all been waiting for. To introduce Trinidad and Tobago's ray of hope and our next Prime Minister, I would like to ask a young lady from this constituency to give our political leader a COUVA South welcome. Please welcome Ms. Oma Gopichan.
Good night to the political leader, members of the head table, members of parliament, councillors, senators, members of the national executive, and my fellow UNC family. Tonight, I have been given the great honor of introducing a woman who comes from humble background and has gained the love and respect of hundreds of thousands of people throughout Trinidad and Tobago. A woman who has served as the Minister of Education, the first female Attorney General of our great nation, the first female Minister of Legal Affairs, the first female chairperson in office, the first female political leader of the United National Congress, the first female leader of the opposition, and of course, the first female Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Over the years, she has become an inspiration to thousands of young women, including myself, and has carried out her duties with the utmost dignity and respect. She is a woman who has stood in front of Parliament in protest against this wicked and corrupt government, and has carried out her duties in Parliament, telling Dr. Keith Rowley to man up to his responsibilities as Prime Minister of this country. Ladies and gentlemen, I now ask you to join me in giving a warm welcome to the leader of the opposition, our political leader, and the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. If I look a bit taller today, just because I am taller. UNC family, good evening and welcome to all of you. Let me thank Oma for her very lovely introduction. You see, the UNC really has hard hitters. She's another peppermouth in the making, I can hear her. But I also want to tell her all those things she spoke about with respect to what I've done. Being the first woman, 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to give you the assurance that once we unite together, I will become the second female Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. So good evening. It's good to be back here in COUVA. Seems very important things happen in COUVA. In the past and will happen again. So thank you very much, MP Indar Singh, MP Ramona, all other MPs are here with us. And Barry gave an impromptu speech. You know, Barry was not scheduled to speak. But then I saw him there and I said, oh, we have a little time. Let's give him a go. I think he did very well for an impromptu speech. So, tomorrow, as MP Indar Singh has already pointed out, is a very special day. Tomorrow will mark 30 years, or the anniversary of the Club 88 was formed 30 years ago. And we are very privileged as we thank the founding fathers of Club 88, which gave rise to our great party, the UNC, all the founding fathers. And we are particularly pleased to commend the Honorable Basil Pandey as our first leader of this great party. And in our audience, we are very privileged to have Dr. Parasram Rampasad, who was the first chairman of our great party. Thank you, Doctor. There are a few things I want to share with you tonight. Other MPs have shared and other speakers have shared the fact that our country is in a crisis. I want to tell you that our party is here. We are working and we are ready to get Trinidad and Tobago moving and working again. Since I last spoke to you at St. Augustine, I told you that there was something that was rotten in the state of Trinidad and Tobago. And the smell coming from that stench coming from what is all wrong in our nation, has become increasingly worse since then. As we continue to expose their dishonesty, their callousness, their wickedness, and their incompetence, I promise you that those who have cocoa in the sun will be revealed. I will tell you also, do not be fooled at all by the rubber talk. Do not be fooled by the Gallerian. Do not be fooled by their Bajonism. This has always been their modus operandi. Always, always. Their bark is worse than their bite. My friends, the stranglehold on the middle class continues to tighten, with about 5,000 petroleum workers now being forced to accept letters of dismissal, even whilst the matter is still before the court. We are seeing early childhood teachers on the breadline. We are seeing about 2,000 TSC workers also do not know if they will lose their jobs in the morning. That, my friends, will be 8,500 more persons out of work in a very short space of time. And this is in addition to the over 50,000 people who have lost their jobs since Rowley came into government. Over 50,000. And let me remind you, when we were there, we created over 55,000 new jobs. And we did this without raising a single tax against the people. I urge you to keep them in mind, because you know what? All these workers gone on the breadline, that you could be next. It could be Leela, it could be Shanti, it could be Natalie, it could be John, it could be Deborah, Carleen, anyone. You are targeted, you could be next. We must not only focus on those who are removed from the workforce. That's what I'm saying. We must remember that with the job cuts over the last 3 years, there's a ripple effect throughout the economy that is being felt. Small and medium-sized businesses then are shutting their doors because of the critical drop in sales, or they just can't get currency, forex, that is the lifeblood of their business. It is clear to all that the PNM, Rowley's PNM has failed, that our nation is in crisis, and therefore, other speakers have shared with you, and you know and you feel it. And do you feel safer today than you did 3 years ago? Do you feel secure in your job today as you felt 3 years ago? Are you better off today than you were 3 years ago? And so our nation is in crisis, and I want to share with you some of the plans the UNC has. We have a plan, you know. We are not like this clueless, planless government. The MP for Nabarima told you well, before the 2015 elections, they had no plan. Today, they still have no plan. They make it up as they go along on the hoof. They repeat their plans, they repeat their promises, and then they repeat breaking them again. Each budget, budget 1, budget 2, budget 3, budget 4, you are promising the same things to improve the quality of life, and each year, you repeat breaking the same promises. We tell you, PNM promises never materialize under the PNM. So tonight I want to share some of the plans we have to get our country working again, to get a greater improvement in quality of your life and that of your children. I can only share some tonight because of the time constraints. So since this Petrotrin scandal broke, I have been asked, well, what would we do different? What we would have done differently? And I can tell you this, we would not send people home without hope, without any thought for the future. As you know, our UNC government focused on developing the physical infrastructure of the entire country. But we also paid close attention to investing in people, in our greatest resource, our human resource. We have young people today who cannot find a job that pays them a living wage because they cannot get the education that they want. While many of the underemployed workers cannot access the training they need, and they need to get that training in order to move forward. It's the only way, I've told you repeatedly, education is the passport out of poverty. Education is the key to a better future and a better way of life. I can only stand here today as your leader, or as I stood before as your Prime Minister, because of the education and training I was very privileged to receive. And so that is the way for children to improve their lives. Many of the unemployed workers cannot get the training they need so that they can move forward and build a future. And of course, our entrepreneurs, the small businesses and so on, the business community constantly complain about not finding the skills they need to compete in this global digital economy. The issues I just mentioned do not tell me we need to close the gate, but rather what we need to do is open the gate. We need to open the gate with a more targeted approach so that the young people can access education. The UNC government, we will fix this problem with lifelong education for all, using the GATE program to focus not only on university education, but also on creating a culture of retraining and retooling all our citizens. The real opportunity lies in enhancing our capabilities and capacity in the global economy, particularly in the digital economy, to take advantage of the fourth industrial revolution. If we do not train our people for this age, then they will be left behind in the Stone Age. We must train and retrain in order to function effectively in the digital economy. The need for job and wealth creation is now an urgent imperative, as the fluctuations of energy markets have dictated austerity measures. So what is one thing I would do to help and to assist our economy, to grow the economy? The property tax is an ill-conceived tax. The property tax will only lead to an increase in property prices, making it more difficult for middle-class, working poor persons to acquire a home. Owners will pass on the cumulative sum of property taxes paid over time through the selling price to purchasers. This will result in increased homelessness and squatting. The property tax will negatively affect the growth of businesses, as it will be an added bill on an already thin profit margin, if there's any profit margin at all. It will cause an increase in commercial and residential values. It will increase in default on mortgages and increase foreclosures. The property tax is basically punishing people for saving and investing in their future through buying homes. It is punishing good behavior and good financial management. Taxation of plant and equipment will lead to businesses cutting back on investment in these areas. In essence, how do we expect to grow business when you penalize investment in infrastructure needed to grow the business? Why give incentives and subsidies for businesses to improve infrastructure, and then what do? To turn around and tax them on the very business and infrastructure through the property tax, so there's no real improvement. This is self-defeating. In some cases, you feel the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing in this government. And what we will do, your UNC government, when you put us back in office, we will remove the property tax. We will remove the property tax. If this government does not do it, your government under the UNC will do it. If you insist on imposing it, I object strenuously to putting property tax on plant and equipment. Light manufacturing, small businesses, agricultural property should be exempt from property tax. It is counterproductive for growth and counterproductive for mobility, upward movement of people. The second area we would tackle is in this respect with corporation tax. We will implement a phased reduction in corporation tax over a 5-year period to 20%. This will attract foreign investors. This will give a boost to small and medium manufacturers. This will increase investment in plant, in equipment, efficient technology, and research and development, thereby leading to more jobs, growth, and recovery in the economy. It makes no sense to overtax local businesses, taking money out of their pockets only to try to return it with misdirected subsidies. Businesses know best where and how to allocate money for their own growth. Less government interference will only result in the improvement of, not improvement, will really stroke off our local businesses. Over the 5-year period, due to the phased basis I spoke of, the impact on government revenues will be offset by increased jobs, increased productive capacity of our local businesses. Increased jobs will lead to a reduction in persons on the social safety net. Thank you. Sure, thank you. Less government interference, I'm saying, will certainly assist businesses in growing. Increased jobs, we wouldn't have to have so many persons on the social safety net to have transfers and subsidies. Increased productive capacity, together with a lower tax rate, will result in larger revenues and therefore more saving, which we can then redound to the benefit of those most in need. In other words, taxing at a lower rate of a much larger economic plan as compared to taxing at a higher rate of a smaller and declining economic pie. We have to enable our businesses to expand rather than taxing them into contraction. Local businesses are at a grave disadvantage at the current taxation rate. So, in other words, you're killing the goose that lays the golden egg when you overtax small businesses and other businesses. I will share with you that if we do this, what has happened in the United States and is happening is that the Trump administration has reduced taxes. Companies from abroad are now repatriating back into the United States, bringing money, bringing jobs back into the US. We can do the same if we lower the corporation taxes to allow companies to invest here. Why is our corporation tax rate higher than the United States? How do we intend then to bring in foreign direct investment? When we are bringing them here, we want to tax them with corporation tax. Then we want to tax them for plant and equipment with a property tax. You tax them out of business, they will not come to Trinidad and Tobago. In the past 3 years under the Rowley government, not a single cent of foreign direct investment has come. In our time, we brought in billions of FDI for investment in Trinidad and Tobago. In addition to the things Ramona spoke about in the fight against crime, we have a plan, and a part of that plan I will share with you tonight to fight crime. Because there's no point in doing anything else if you are dead. So you first have to be safe and secure. We will allocate a part of the UWI campus in Davie, the one we built, and out of spite and malice, they will not open that campus. We will allocate a part of that campus for training police and judicial officers. We will double it as a faculty for both the public and training of the protective services to get certificates, diplomas, degrees, degree in policing, postgraduate degrees for the protective services. We will also use it to host a forensic science center. So a dual purpose facility there. Use it, it's there, it's on the ground, it's done, it's finished. Use it for training as well as use it for forensics. We need a greater impact in the fight against crime. Forensic is a very, very weak area in our country. So we will integrate this facility into protective services training. All members of the protective services should get at least a certificate level qualification before entering into the protective services. Plans for the education sector. I know I'm not as amusing when I'm giving you plans, but we need plans. We cannot just complain about everything they're doing. So bear with me. You will probably have greater plans. We will share your plans too. But allow me to give you some of our plans for the education sector. All children aged 2 to 5 should have free preschool. We gave it to them when we were there. They have been shutting it down. They should have transport and meals. They have shut down the transport. They have shut down with respect to the school meals. You have children and you will know where this is happening in your schools. We will introduce free psychological assessment for preschool children in 9 categories: academic, behavioral, social, emotional, fine or gross motor, speech and language like autism, dyslexia, and so on. We should have this assessment done at an early stage so we can then cater for the needs of our special children. The laptops, of course. We will bring back the laptop program to school. But whilst we provide the meals and the transport and the laptops, we will ask parents to sign a pledge to take responsibility for their children's actions at school. Parents must put a hand too. We will impose a curfew for school-age children during school hours. They must not be out on the streets. They must be inside the classroom. We will ask parents to partner and therefore to assist in patrols in schools to complement or to work in hand with deans and security personnel. We will introduce curriculum with life skills and basic financial training as a core part of the syllabus. We'll try to convert vocational institutions such as the MIC, NESC, etc., into secondary schooling institutions. In this way, we remove the stigma of vocational schooling from these institutions. We will institute scholarships for arts, sports, and vocational areas, in addition to the areas already there. We will have ongoing yearly psychological testing for students. We will have zero tolerance on abuse by teachers. We will also install an anti-bullying app to anonymously report bullying. We will modify the current curriculum so that all students from primary school upwards must learn Spanish as a second language. And the benefit of this is for us to break into, right next door, the South American market, which has 422.5 million people. A vast market awaiting us, but we must learn Spanish. Do you know in Barbados, my colleague Mia Motley has asked that Mandarin be taught in their schools because of the amount of work happening with the Chinese. But I will ask for every child in our schools to be taught Spanish as a second language so we can break in right next door into the South American. 422 million persons live there. All students must study a compulsory business studies subject. Business studies. You have to learn to make money. You just can't sit down and hope people drop money in your hand. So they will learn business studies from an early age. This will help them become owners and entrepreneurs rather than simply going begging for a job by someone. You can create your own jobs. We'll modify our current history curriculum to focus on the histories of indigenous, African, and Eastern societies, all the people from whence we came. And this is very important Because the history I learned in school, we studied British colonial history, you know. It's only later years that I educated myself with respect to West Indian history and our history. But we need to learn about our forefathers because their history did not start in 1492. That is what the history book tells us, that our history here began in 1492 when Columbus came. But we have a great history in all our forefathers. And so children must be taught the truth that they descended from a great African peoples, the Congo, the Yoruba, the Hausa, the Igbos, Rada, all the Mandingo, so many others, from pre-Columbian First Peoples societies. We have come from great societies in India, great societies in China. We must learn about those and know from whom we were descended. Learning British colonial history about which country captured this one and the next one, and first that was Spanish and then it became English, and then the French came. All right, all that's nice to know. But we need to learn the culture and the values of the great civilizations from whence we came. That should be in our history books so that we can stand tall and proud of who we are, what we are, and from whence we came. Instead, we keep looking to the colonial masters to point us their direction. We must change that. So history, yes, now, but we must go backwards to the prehistory of the people from whom we are descended, all of us in this land. A UNC government will also ensure that our education system keeps up with future needs of the global economy. The world is changing. We must keep up with those changes if we are to remain necessary and relevant. This is not only important for the mothers and fathers of the next generation of skilled young people who are about to enter the workforce, who want to see their children build a life of their own. It is also important for the private sector. The skill set of our workforce is directly linked to the decisions investors will make. It will guide both international and local investment in our country. No one wants to invest in a business if they think that the skill set of the population cannot meet their needs. So many other changes, but let me just give you some fun for tonight. We said in the budget debate that we are living on Fantasy Island with Tatu and the boss. I think recently Tatu is telling the boss, you know, I think Tatu had said, boss, the plane. Well, Tatu now telling the boss, the boat. Fantasy Island versus reality in Trinidad and Tobago. For the past 3 years under this government, Rowley's government, we have seen how they distort the truth, how they manipulate the facts, how they blatantly lie to people. They believe like them, we are living on Fantasy Island. They do not feel the pain that you feel day by day because they are living large and they're in charge. They do not live in your reality because they sit from their ivory towers and say, well, they have not righted it, meaning you have not righted yet. They do not face the supermarkets. They do not face the markets. They do not go to the poultry depots, the hardware, the bank. They do not go to bill payment centers when the end of the month reaches. So they don't know the hardship every person is suffering except them. But the real Trinidad and Tobago that you live in, instead, what do they tell us? They tell us on Fantasy Island that they are living on. Imbert, can you imagine a minister of finance think we are so stupid and foolish to raise the price of gas? And you know what he said? The increase in gas prices will help the poor. Where is this man living except on Fantasy Island? How can an increase in gas prices help anybody? Anybody. This man is in La La Land, Fantasy Land, alternate reality, Fantasy Island. The hike in gas prices will affect about 96% of the motoring public because there's about 96% using super. And they've raised prices 3 times already since they came in, or more. We have no reliable alternative public transport. So you have to use your car to go to work. That is today's episode in Fantasy Island, helping the poor by raising gas prices. Rowley and the others thing. They say we have the best health care in the Commonwealth. You hear lie? Well, that is more than lie. That is flabbergasting, I mean. And then they attacked me. When I said, they're living on Fantasy Island, they attacked me and said, well, you know what? The monster of health, Terrible Terrence, that man so toting feelings, comes in the parliament and say, the member for Superior call him monster and Terrible Terrence and so on, and saying about best health care and complaining about their statement about best health care. And you know what she did? Oh my God, here this great crime. When she fell ill, she went to St. Clair Medical Hospital. Wow, well at least I didn't go to California like Rowley or like others in their administration who have gone abroad. So we have the best health care, but they're flying out. I went right here in Trinidad and Tobago. When my grandson got dengue, I stayed with him, visited him right there in San Fernando General Hospital. So what? So that was my big crime, that I was warded at St. Clair Medical and Crossing Medical for a couple of days and so on. So babies are dying in this country. This is having the best health care. Best health care babies are dying because of the Children Life Fund. There is no CDAP drugs. There are no beds in the hospitals, no equipment. They fly out for medical attention whilst you are left to suffer in Trinidad and Tobago because of their incompetence. Best health care in the Commonwealth. I wonder if they know what is the Commonwealth at all. There are 50. I was chair in office of the Commonwealth when I was Prime Minister. And there were 52 countries, there's 53 now, joined by another country, so there are 52 nations. You know, India is part of the Commonwealth. The United Kingdom is part of the Commonwealth. Canada, Australia, New Zealand. You want to tell me, in their fantasy land and in their minds, that Rowley says we have best healthcare in the Commonwealth? I wonder what Canada or the UK has to say to that. You hear like die. And right here in COUVA, they refuse to open the COUVA Children's Hospital. 4 budgets later, they will not open it. We will open the COUVA Children's Hospital. They're boasting that they'll create jobs. 3 years, not a single job created. As I told you before, over 50,000 jobs lost. But in today's episode of Fantasy Island, under Imbert and Rowley, everything is fine. And this minister of everything has now become the minister of nothing. Because you don't hear him, you know. The minister, since he became National Security Minister, not a word. Not a word. Nothing. When the country is under severe assault from criminals. He told a big press conference man called. He told the press conference, murders are down. That's in his episode of Fantasy Island. Murders are down. Right now the projection is way above what it was last year at this time of the year. And it's projected by the end of the year to surpass the number of murders. Since they came into office, the murders have been increasing and increasing and increasing. They hired a new commissioner of police. I wish him very well. I know he will try his best. But if they do not resource the ministry, if the Minister of National Security does not do his job, then very little can the commissioner do on his own. They have to work. So don't say you put Gary there and every time something happens, you put him out front, that he must speak. You, Minister, you are responsible. Stuart Young, speak up. What are you doing to bring down murders? What are you doing to bring down crime? Crime that is rocking the entire country. What are your plans? You have none. None whatsoever. In the front page of that same Guardian, October 1, it read, blood stains the land. 5 dead in 24 hours. The same day this man holding big press conference to say murders down. Same day, 5 dead in 24 hours. In today's episode of Fantasy Island, Rowley and his bunch of merry men riding high and dry while everyone else is running from the bandits. Imbert and the government put out a document in the budget debate. It's called 2030 Vision. 2030 Vision. And in it, it says that what they're doing is reporting on their achievements. Well, almost every line in that book, their book, you know, not mine, not yours, not UNC, their own book from this government, the Rowley government, every line, to be determined. To put the target, to put the projection, and to put the actual, to be determined. We have called it their Vision 2030 document to be the TBD book. And we know when you have 2020 vision, it means you have perfect vision. But I'm told if you have 2030 vision, what's something wrong with your eyesight? And that is where they are. They are visionless. They have no vision for this country. In that same book, TBD book, at page 47, the achievement is that we have declined in CSEC maths and English. So we have declined also in our international ranking for higher education under this Rowley government in their own book. However, do you know in the budget, they spent about 48 million in Stolmeyer's Castle. A further 1.8 million is now put again to be spent on the castle. And that's why Barry made a comment. For them, it's castles before schools. Today, children in COUVA, in Belmont, in Praise Hall, in so many places, cannot even go to school. And you have spent 48 million on Stolmeyer's Castle and put another 1.8 million castles before people and children. And then they boasted that in this budget, they have 6 game changers. In the first place, I don't know how they could see your life and mine and this country is a game. Running a country is serious business. But they said, look, we have 6 plans. Well, they couldn't call them plans, initiatives or whatever, to change the game. Boasting they will get more jobs, grow the economy, do good things. But every one of these 6 is a non-starter. These game changers, the first one, guess what it is? The Dragon deal. You remember the Dragon deal with Venezuela? They said that is going to change the game. Well, it will certainly change the game if it ever happens. And it may not be changed for the better, it may be changed for the worse in terms of our relationships with our international partners. So, Dragon deal, is there a deal or is there no deal? They come, they tell us they sign up something, and they go, this is going to create jobs and grow the economy, really boasting. Well, 3 years, repeat after repeat after repeat, in every budget was Dragon deal. Yet today, not a pipeline laid, not a post hole dug, not a single thing 3 years later. Do you believe they will achieve this? Do you think this will ever happen under the PNM? No way, not under Rowley. And then in their own book, so Imbert boasted in his budget statement, this is the first game changer. And their own budget books at the, what is called the State Enterprise Investment Program, which details the projects to be undertaken by state companies for fiscal 2019. It shows that the Dragon gas deal project cost has fallen, so they've put less money. But even more disturbing is this statement, and I quote, the project is contingent on the execution of the gas supply agreement. What did Rowley sign then? What did he sign? He went up with a whole plane load of ministers and so on, going up there dancing in the Congo line in Venezuela, and saying this project cannot be started until you have the gas supply agreement. So what did the Prime Minister sign? Did he in fact sign anything? Because I never saw a picture with them sitting down. You know, when we sign agreements, you will see the 2 ministers or the 2 prime ministers. We have never seen it. In fact, I'm told they put out the media out of the briefing room where they were. So this is not going to happen. Game changer 1, non-starter. Second, what I see as a most blatant deception of the population, hoodwinking, NIF. The finance minister boasted that the NIF, you know, that this will be a game changer, that this will kickstart the economy. I don't see how you could take a debt, a loan of $4 billion, and you calling that a game changer? How can that be a game changer when you're owing $4 billion to people who invested? And secondly, when you took state institutions to buy the shares in the NIF, what's changing which game? The only game that is changing there is that we are owing far more money. They have mortgaged the future of our children and ourselves, another 4 billion in debt. Then there's that dry dock facility. They're all boasting how much jobs people will get. Petroleum workers getting fired, go down there by the dry dock in La Brea.
I want to start by introducing the Vice Chairman and the Councillor for Londonville Talparo, the Honorable Ryan Rampersad. Councillor for Balmain.
No fewer than 5 ministers was out there threatening and warning workers. They were saying we are monitoring your every action. If you slip, you slide. I want to Club 88. I remain committed to our party's original vision, which has always been to create a better future for all. I am ready, willing, and able to take up once again the mantle of leadership necessary to govern our children. If you believe in that vision, I ask you to join us. Stand with the UNC. I ask we come together for all citizens, one people, to work to make our country safer for ourselves and for our children. Are you ready to move with us? Are you ready to join us? Are you ready to return the party with a plan to rescue Trinidad and Tobago? They spend weeks talking about a biscuit. That is their vision. They spend weeks talking on platforms about a biscuit. We will talk about bread and butter issues for all of Trinidad and Tobago. May God bless you. May God continue to bless the UNC. And may God continue to bless great Trinidad and Tobago.